Sales is important. Marketing is important. Not everybody can have the same skills that it takes to be really good at that.
Mm-hmm.
So figure out what you're good at.
Welcome to Biz Help for You, the show that saves you the expensive learning curve by providing advice from industry experts in every facet of the entrepreneurial journey. Too many small businesses collapse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20% fail within their first year, and less than 35% make it to their 10th anniversary. The goal of this podcast is to change that statistic. So if you're interested in learning more to be a successful entrepreneur, tune in today.
Now, let me tell you a little bit about my guest today. Brad Smith is a seasoned business growth consultant and executive coach, having founded Stellar Insight Inc. He brings over 28 years of experience working with various industries, guiding CEOs and business owners towards substantial growth. His approach is grounded in practical, actionable strategies that are repeatable and focused on delivering measurable business outcomes. His coaching philosophy emphasizes the importance of direct experience and experimentation in achieving consistent business success. In addition to his business acumen, Brad has a unique focus on intuition and human development. For more than 55 years, he has studied mysticism and intuition, which he integrates into his coaching through his masterclass for CEOs and R&D teams. This program is aimed at helping leaders develop deep intuition to better guide their businesses. His expertise covers both practical and analytical human aspects of business, offering a holistic approach to growth. You can learn how to achieve significant business growth by developing a deeper understanding of practical, repeatable strategies while also tapping into your intuition to make better, more insightful decisions. So, Brad, welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Thank you.
First, I would love to ask, how did you become an entrepreneur? Tell your story.
It's kind of destiny. My dad, so essentially, I watched my dad, while I was growing up, I watched my dad start 34 companies, and 3 of them are still running 60 years later, which is pretty amazing. But that was, and then kill 30 of them because just like 30 of them didn't work. He was a product development. That was his kind of skill and expertise. And so he did that and wrapped a company around it and then grew it from there. So it was kind of in my blood from a very early stage. He was a biochemist, chemical engineer and biochemist, and he raised me to think like a chemical engineer, analytical. So there we are.
Okay, perfect. Well, I know we're going to be talking, on this topic, kind of with entrepreneurs thinking about growth and, processes and all these other things that kind of go into all of that too, and decision making. But I would love for you first to just talk about how does an entrepreneur balance business growth with ensuring that they're enjoying the process and having fun along the way?
Things that are uncomfortable for you to do as an entrepreneur. It's like, I'm good at conversations with people. I used to think I was good at selling, but that kind of whole texture has changed a little bit. But if you're not good at cold calling, which most people are not, there are actually people that are good at that. And so the thing to do is to grow your revenue enough so that you can hire a good, if you would, outreach person. Sales is important. Marketing is important. Not everybody can have the same skills that it takes to be really good at that.
Mm-hmm.
So figure out what you're good at. And that's part of what I help my clients with is sort down through what they're good at, what they enjoy, and what delights them. First question to ask yourself is, why am I in this business? And if it's only to make money, it can't be the right answer. Because money is only the symptom, if you would, the outcome of who you are and what you do. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. So what I understand that you're saying then is if they want to grow, they don't always have to be the ones that are trying to generate that revenue, that it would be wise for them to find someone who enjoys that outreach, and then they can focus on the parts of the business that they love and have that other salesperson doing that cold calling and, networking or all those things.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little deeper. I had a client in Las Vegas, and I had to build a sales team for him to kind of go out and do that. And I had always known, I mean, if you think about it and you've got some history, you know that there's farmer salespeople and there's hunter salespeople. And the hunter salespeople is what you need to fill the pipeline, and then the farmers are the good closers, or the hunters can do both the hunting and the closing, but then they hand it off to the relationship holders, and the relationship holders are the farmers. There are literal analysis and assessments online that you can go out and do an assessment to see what you are and what you're good at, and then have people that you're interviewing go through that. Those characters are the people that enjoy the conversation and the adventure in each new potential conversation that they have when they're cold calling. It's amazing. I found a group of people. There were only a few, but they're there. Those are the people that are willing to, if you're starting out, willing to work for commission only. Because people that are not willing to work for commission only don't have the drive and the ambition and the resilience it takes to be a hunter.
Understood. So then if the entrepreneurs are looking for these growth opportunities, do you have any insights on things they should focus on to find those opportunities?
That's an interesting question. First off, I take my clients through the process of what is their business model? In other words, how do they make money? And then how does it interact with the market? What do people want? What the customer wants and how they want it is the most important thing. And if you learn to relate to that person that is you're going to be your customer, or that kind of type, different, what do they call them? Anyway, different models of people that are going to be your customer. If you understand how they think and what they want and speak with them on that, then you can find the opportunities.
Well, and they're not always obvious, right? And sometimes it's not even expected. Something all of a sudden will pop up, and it's an opportunity that you hadn't necessarily planned for. And maybe you can then take advantage of that opportunity if your business is prepared for that growth.
Right. Well, and the preparation for the growth is the next adventure.
Right. So then what would you say is what they should be planning on in terms of preparation so they can take advantage of those opportunities as they come along?
I have an exercise I take my clients through called the plate exercise. That's kind of what I got to. What do you have on your plate that you're the best at, right? What do you have on your plate that you have no business doing? In other words, if you're doing something that occupies part of your week or most of your week, and you can hire it for less than your worth on an hourly basis, then right? And so the evolution is look at cash flow and how you generate that, then look at what you have on your plate and develop, if you would, what I call the delegation list. And from the delegation list, and start going through the cycle of I have enough cash flow to hire this person to get this off my plate, and then develop more cash flow, and then you can hire that. So it's a balance between having enough cash flow to pay for the person that you're delegating to, and then training them up. So the process I have you do that is, go through the exercise of listing out what you do, write down the number of hours a week that you put into that. And then when you get to a place where you've got enough to hire someone part-time, then start hiring part-time people to fill in for you. And if it takes a full-time person to, a full-time position to actually secure somebody, right, then you do that. That's a little slower process. But you balance between what are the results you need, that's the first list. What are the actions that need to be done in order to create the results? Then what are the skills that need, this is the hiring process, what are the skills it needs in order to accomplish that? So results, tasks, actions, if you would, skills, and then behind that, what's the character of the person that needs to have in order to be able to automatically create those results? Someone that's a good receptionist is almost always really not good at what it takes to be a good bookkeeper, because the attention to detail and the people skills are not mutual, they're not mutually exclusive, but often they are.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you have to hire for the role too, and make sure that the person you're hiring for has the characteristics and the skills that are going to be able to take those off your plate and do them successfully.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then in your experience, then what are some of the most common barriers to business growth? And then how can our CEOs who are listening overcome them?
First is self-awareness. Then it's situational awareness. And then it's the ability to think from through the time horizon for the actions that are needed. In other words, almost everybody carries in their mind a set of goals that they have, and that has a time that matches to it, that kind of time horizon, if you would, and their natural thinking process needs to extend out to what are the consequences of my actions today? Okay, and that time horizon is part of the process of learning how to grow a company.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and those consequences can be positive or negative, correct?
But
Right.
we want the positive. We tend to ignore the negative. It's an automatic survival mechanism, if you would. So part of what I bring to an organization is each person lives in a bubble. And that blindness, if you would, for who they are and what they know about themselves and the impact they have on the people around them. Most people don't understand all the positive and negative impacts they have. And so with someone to talk with on a kind of deep level, they get to the place where they get insights into, which is why I named my company that, they get insights into what it will take to conquer the things they see and conquer the things they don't see. And your blind spot, there's actually a diagram called the Johri window, Johri window. Go look it up, right? There's the stuff you know and the stuff that everybody else knows. And that's one window. There's the stuff that you know about yourself and your world, and nobody else knows. That's the private information. That's what I call it, at least. There's the stuff that everyone around you knows that you don't know. And then there's the stuff, the items, if you would, that nobody knows, neither you or everyone else. And that's the realm that the mysticism kind of dragged me off into, which is what are the things that nobody knows? And I want to have that block, if you would, be as small as possible. Coaching and mentors help with the personal blind spots. The universal blind spots are harder.
Right. Well, you were talking a little bit earlier too about like personal awareness and situational awareness. And so do you want to give maybe an example for those who are listening to understand specifically what you mean about how they can identify what those situations are and how they can adjust if necessary?
Yeah. And so I have a friend, former client, who, when she would talk to people, would lift her chin completely up like that. And it wasn't that she was looking down at her nose at them, right? What she was doing was she didn't want to be engaged with them to a deep enough level that it would harm her. She didn't know that. It would take literally one conversation to help her be aware of that. Know that that was something that I did chronically a lot. And I wanted to help her engage with people because that was the business she was in.
Interesting. So you're reading, someone's body language or something too, that someone doesn't even necessarily that they're putting out there has a meaning, and you're interpreting what that is and helping them identify what it is and how to make that change.
Right. Whether it's character level, that's self-awareness stuff, or interaction level, and that's another kind of level, right? Or how they think and how they think about their business. All of those things are things that they need to work through and eliminate the blind spots that are harming them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, in your bio too, we said that, you're looking at intuition and that plays a role in a lot of this too in business. And a lot of people are thinking, business is like the hard and, the facts and all of that too. So I would love for you to talk about how you encourage someone to use intuition to help them make better decisions, and how can they sharpen that skill?
Oh, well, there's a lot of things you can do. I've studied that pretty deeply for probably longer than, well, for at least 2 years longer, if not 20 years longer than I have been in business. So how far do I go down this rabbit hole? When we think analytically, the brain uses the beta brainwave levels. Almost everybody kind of lives in that once you're past the age of about 5. When you think about something, do you need data before you make a decision, or can you make leaps? The intuition is the ability to go from analytical thinkers go A, B, C, D, down the line. Intuitive thinkers look at the environment that they're in and go, okay, I'm at A, I can figure my way down to C or even Q. Once I get to Q, I've got everything lined up and situated. I was an analytical chemist for a decade, and actually longer than that. But I realized one day, so I started into some practices, meditation and some other energy things. And I think I was about 27 at the time, 28. And I realized about 9 months into that process, standing in the middle of my lab, working through a problem in the formulations that I was working on, and realized I could hold 6 times as much information in my mind and correlate it that I could a year, 9 months earlier. And that startled me. And what's amazing is I never lost that ability. So intuition is, everyone has epiphanies. Think about when you have an epiphany, what it feels like. There's a level of certainty that comes with that. I know this is really tickly this morning. Sorry. In that process of understanding that kind of deeper level, the epiphany happens, the aha moment happens, and you're never the same. And intuition, when you develop it deeply, is the ability to kind of stand in the middle of the room of epiphanies and understand things at a deeper level. Things correlate better. Everyone is capable of intuition. Some people have to work a little harder than others. But what happens is we have 5 brainwave levels. Beta is the analytical thinking one. Alpha is where you're washing dishes, in the shower, driving down the road, and something pops into your head. Theta is most of the sleep cycle, and delta is the bottom 30 minutes of a 90-minute sleep cycle. So you go in, you drop down, and it's the slowest, most connected to your subconscious. All of the ideas you need are your subconscious or the collective unconscious, and they come up through our dream states and then up into our epiphany moments, if you would. Gamma is a measurement of the whole brain and how it works together. And so as you meditate, my recommendation is find a method that works, whether it's from the Self-Realization Fellowship, whether it's Transcendental Meditation, or I use binaural beat from an organization called synchronicity.org. And I've been doing that for 29 years. I've been doing Transcendental for about 32 years. And so I found that I can use them both. But what that does is it trains the brain and builds neural pathways across the brain so that you can tune into that understanding of that perception, if you would. It is a perception of how ideas fit together. I had a house that I was rebuilding the bathroom floor on so that I could, sell it. And the bathroom floor was off by 2.5 inches from level in one direction and about half, 5/8 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch in the other direction. And I had no idea how I was going to figure that out. I woke up one morning. So when you wake up in the morning, that is that's the deepest state you can consciously hold. So and I'll tell you this exercise. So I woke up in the morning, posed this problem to myself. How am I going to solve this? And I found that I had a literally three-dimensional kinesthetic modeling ability in my mind at that time of the day. And so I figured out how to level the floor using a straight board, which is really hard to find, at one point in the threshold, and I leveled the whole floor to that point using that board. But I found I could three-dimensionally model how that whole room was going to go together. So that was amazing to me. Everyone has that capability with tendencies one way or the other. But when you have a problem, and I did this before I had my aha moment in the middle of the lab, I would train myself to take a 15-minute nap. And I would get all my problems, lay them out, map out all the things that I knew about that particular issue, and go take a nap. All the things I knew, and then the things that I didn't know, and go take a nap. And I almost always took a while to train myself into it, but you wake up with a solution. So list out your problems and what you know, go to bed at night. And then when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself what you know about that. And eventually you'll train yourself into using your subconscious, because that's where the pool of ideas are, to bring it up into your brain and then operate from there. That's intuition.
Well, I've heard a lot of times the term like gut instinct too. Like if you're going to make a decision, you could have all these facts, but you sometimes go with your gut too, whether it's, should I, even work with this customer maybe, or should I hire this person? Like sometimes everything looks great on paper, but you just have this gut feeling, right? So is a gut instinct kind of the same thing as intuition?
It is intuition. Okay, we'll just go straight to that. But when you have it, the reason we call it gut intuition, gut feeling, is because we're human beings, and the chakra system, we're most aware of who we are as a human being, and that's the center that's right below the navel. That's the gut, right? And if you're most energetically aware of that, that's the part of intuition that's going to show up for you first. But when you're visualizing and you practice this, wake up in the morning, use what you understand. Is it visual? Is it kinesthetic? Is it direct knowing? And the epiphanies, which is deep intuition, the epiphanies are direct knowing. You know for a fact that it's true. You don't have to ask anybody else. You don't have to have analysis. You know it's true because you compiled all the information behind it. And your subconscious has dropped that understanding with articulation directly into your mind, your brain, right? Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like not a conversation I've had a lot, right? Because again, a lot of what I do too is the numbers and the facts and things. And a lot of people I deal with that is too. But that's why I was just trying to see is gut instinct kind of your same definition as intuition? And I get what you're saying, how they're, kind of related, different, right? I get,
right.
I get that.
I will give you another thing, right? Men are less intuitive than women. Okay. Women, partly because they're open to community more, and they're not, they don't have to be the sole part of it is hormones, right? Part of it happens in utero. And so you'll find that the evolution of a woman and her biology makes her brain more accessible to receiving the information from her intuition. Woman's intuition, that is a term we have, right? When it happens, I'll ask you, when you have that, is there a difference in how you perceive the knowing, which is what intuition is, direct knowing, when you have gut feel as opposed to an epiphany.
I guess that makes sense too, because like I said, sometimes maybe, like you said, if you just wake up with an idea and you have something versus if you're making a decision and you have that feeling in your gut, like I need to go this direction, even if I think I'm going this direction. So I understand kind of the differences that you're
Right.
talking about there.
So because I'm analytical and I'm also perceptive, I've learned to ask questions. That's the whole point of being a chemist. You ask questions and you come, same thing with coaching. That's how I made the leap. But what I'm asking you to do is, and your viewers, I want you to look at the differences between a gut feel, which is more tentative, and as opposed to where do you receive the information? Where in your body and then in your perception does your knowing happen from a gut feel, as opposed to an epiphany when
In
it's
your brain.
complete, right?
Yeah.
It's in your brain, right? And so what happens when you develop that with meditation, with the energy movement process, both of those together refill the brain so that your knowing is direct into your brain, so that you've got it straight there. And gut feel doesn't happen anymore because it's so clear and loud.
Well, this has been an interesting discussion. We're actually coming to the end of the time we have together already. So I wanted to ask if you have an offer that you would like to extend to our listeners, and also if they want to get in touch with you, how can they contact you?
My website is stellarinsightinc.com. You can go there and set up a half-hour meeting with me. If you do that, it's free. First conversation is always free, so that I can find out in that interview process if I can help you. And if you're ambitious enough, I love people that are ambitious. It's really hard to drag somebody they don't want to go, or as fast as they want to go. You know? And if you're ambitious, I would love to work with you. Let's see whether it works or not. So that's for coaching. For my deep intuition class, go do the same thing. Go look at the page on the website, and then call me up and we'll go through the interview that's required to get into the class.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Brad, for being a guest on my show and talking on this topic. I enjoyed our discussion today.
Thank you.
And to the listener, if you enjoyed today's topic and you want to hear additional information, you can find access to exclusive content in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in today. Would you please share this episode with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? And if you find our show informative, would you consider being a financial sponsor to help me continue my mission to educate business owners? A link is located in the episode description, and no amount is too small. I'd really appreciate your support. If you are interested in connecting with our guest and receiving the offer they had to share, a link to our resource page is in the show notes. Finally, if you have any bookkeeping or payroll needs, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.